All right, so this is going to be my worst of the year list, worst of 2021. It's been quite a year. There's going to be some streaming movies on here, some Netflix movies on here. But anyway, before I start going in on the bad stuff, I can rattle down my best of the year. So there's Free Guy first. I didn't get the chance to review that. I just recently watched it. Great performances. I love the way they executed the concept and all that. I thought it was really great, especially the ending really worked for me. Next is the Suicide Squad, really fun. Then I found it hilarious. It's probably the funniest movie of the year. I love the action and things like that. There's a couple things I didn't like, but for the most part, I think James Gunn really pulled it off. Next is King Richard. Will Smith's accent is laughable, but other than that, it's really inspirational biopic. Next is No Time to Die. I love the action. Lashana Lynch was really good, even though all that controversy. And the villain is bad. I will admit it, and the pacing is bad. But I really enjoyed it, and I think it had a really emotional ending. Next is Last Night in Soho. I didn't get to review that, but I love the way Edgar Wright kind of put that together. Kind of recreated the '60s London and all that. Great performances. Really interesting mystery. People say the ending, doesn't really deliver. I liked the ending. I just didn't like certain aspects of it, like the old guy that was the red herring in the movie. I thought that could be done better and stuff like that. Still a great movie. And then my best of the year is Mitchell's versus the Machines. Really fun. Great animation, great characters within the family. Some interesting and kind of smart kind of dialogue and commentary kind of on our reliance on phones and the internet and Wi-Fi. Those are my best movies of the year. Let's get to the bad stuff. So honorable mentions first. I did have three, but I'm cutting it down to two. So the first one's Tom and Jerry. It's really contrived with the plot of how Chloe Grace Moretz's character got into the hotel. Some of the Tom and Jerry stuff is kind of fun, but for the most part, it's just kind of lame. There's a couple that's getting married. It's kind of pointless, and you don't care about it. The dialogue is awful. The jokes are awful. There's one about Central Park that made me roll my eyes until I was about to turn it off. They treat the cartoon animals like actual animals, and they have pets and stuff. But then a cat is playing the piano, and like nobody really notices or even says anything. A cat gets hit by a car, and all you hear is like, and that's it. The characters, the animals are cartoons. Even the dead fish are cartoons, but the food somehow isn't cartoon. The meat-based product and stuff like that. I shouldn't be thinking about that, but the movie is just that boring, right? It really is. It's pointless. I think it was in the theater. I watched it on HBO Max. Had no business being in the theater. And my last honorable mention is Coming to America. It's a completely pointless sequel, and they know that because they put that in the dialogue. It keeps flashing back to the original movie, like a lot of forced sequels do, because they have nothing really to do for that particular movie. It has them go to America for like two scenes, I think, and most of it takes place in Africa and Zamunda. Barely a villain with Wesley Snipes. He's barely doing anything. It's just cameos and song numbers and a bad CGI lion. And that's it. He's hanging out with his son. The daughter is should be the rightful heir to the throne, and she will be by the end, which happens in another movie that's actually coming up pretty soon. And it just feels so pointless, and they know that because they put that bullshit in the dialogue. There's a blackface joke that's lame. There's a couple chuckles. One scene that's probably the funniest is the one in the barber shop about the starving kids in Africa. Other than that, what reason is there for it to be there? I mean, I don't get it, man. I know some people liked it, but I did not. I know a lazy sequel when I see one. So that is all my honorable mentions. Let's get to the list. So number 8 is Thunder Force. It almost missed my list, but you know what? It's getting on there. Ben Falcone and Melissa McCarthy, they decide to make another shitty movie, and we have to suffer through it. I think Life of the Party. I'm pretty sure Ben Falcone directed that one too, and that was on my worst list in what was that, 2018 or 19 or something like that. It's not funny at all. Octavia Spencer and Melissa McCarthy have no chemistry whatsoever. The jokes are so bad. Melissa McCarthy's eating raw chicken. That's obnoxious. She puts beer in her cereal. She has this joke about Urkel, which is really lame. That goes on for too long. They keep telling the joke about Jason Bateman having claws, crab claws for hands. They put butter on it, all this other stuff. There's romance there. It's lame. They barely do any world building. The villains are sociopaths, but you would never know it looking at most of the movie because you don't see that many of them. The CG is pretty bad. There's a part where she lifts a bus that looks like garbage. It looks so fake. The daughter gets super speed at one point, and it's like, it was out of nowhere. There was no need for it at all, and they didn't even explain it. It's bad. It's obnoxious. It came and went, but I still, every time I think about it, I get annoyed, especially by Melissa McCarthy. Her and her husband, they gotta stop. But they're still gonna do it, obviously, but they gotta stop. At least it was on Netflix, though. At least. And Bobby Cannavale, he was kind of funny. Number seven is the Eternals. They have no chemistry whatsoever. You don't really get to know them. You don't really get to know their powers. The ones that aren't generic, like the super speed and flight, which the CG is pretty bad with those aspects of it. The movie is shot well, but it's all over the place with time periods and locations, and you can't really keep everything like together. It just doesn't flow very well. There's still some comedy. Most of it doesn't work. Some of it's funny, chuckles. Most of it doesn't work. The thing that I was laughing at the most was these performances are terrible, and especially by Druig. His line delivery was so bad. Me and other people in the theater were laughing, right? And when I wasn't laughing, I was bored out of my mind. I could not get invested in any of these characters or anything going on. So, yeah, like out of nowhere, they can just do things. Especially Cersei. Like she can turn the one that looks like a kid that wants to, grow up or look like a grown up like the rest of them. They, she just is able to be human now, and that's it, really. They've been around for 7,000 years. I'm sorry, I can't really believe that they would, just let Thanos snap away half the universe and not do anything about it or even investigate. Like they just kind of, I guess, sat around and waited for it to be fixed. I don't know. I don't know. But it's such a bad movie. It's really bad. And the people that defend it, they defend it because it's an MCU movie. But I found it completely either boring or just awful. And it's the worst movie of the MCU, which is why it's the first one to ever make my list. Captain Marvel was honorable mention when that came out, so there you go. Number six is Venom 2. Completely pointless. It's a pointless sequel. We've got a few of those on this, well, honorable mention and on the list. So, yeah, it's just odd couple. Let's fight and bicker and throw things around the apartment, and that's it. It's PG-13. It's an hour and a half. They have barely a story. They barely develop the villain Carnage, Cletus Cassidy, who just turns out to almost be just like a villain of the week. They have an end credit scene to put him in the MCU, and then in No Way Home they just send his ass right back, and it was really pointless. But I guess that's a problem with that movie, not this one. It's just they don't know what they're doing with this character. They're just throwing shit out there. It feels like in association with the stuff that's actually successful. Well, actually, I guess these are successful too because the first one made a lot of money. I think this one did too, even with COVID. So people like it. I have no idea why. This one's even worse than the first one. The dialogue's worse. Venom is worse. I can barely understand his voice sometimes. The banter between the two gets old real quick to the point where other people in the theater also weren't laughing. I don't get it. I don't get why people like this shit. Tom Hardy is still like a complete fool in it. They keep doing the joke where he's talking to Venom and he's talking out loud, and Venom, he can hear Venom but nobody else can. So they're like, "Hey, what was that, buddy?" It's just it's so lame. I hated that movie. I wanted so bad to leave the theater, especially with some of these jokes. There's no reason for Cletus Cassidy to be obsessed with Eddie Brock. No reason at all, other than we have a plot. What's it called? Cletus Cassidy has a girlfriend with superpowers. No need for it. Venom gives a speech, almost like a LGBTQ coming out speech, at a party randomly when he leaves Eddie because they break up in this movie, like it's a romantic comedy, which it pretty much is. And he also jumps from person to person, killing people, and they don't even let's not even address it at all. It's so bad. I really did not like that movie. Number five is Woman in the Window. It's the Amy Adams movie, the Netflix movie. She really needs to stop doing Netflix movies. Hillbilly Elegy would have made my list last year, but I hadn't seen it by then, and I wasn't putting Netflix movies on. But it was one of the worst movies of the year. And so here we have another one. It's kind of interesting, mystery. She's stuck at home and things like that. She's talking to her family. and that turns out to be not the case. The family turns out to be dead, and she's that crazy. But uh, it's blatantly ripping off Rear Window, the Hitchcock movie. I mean, blatantly. I mean, it's not even trying to hide it. But it's not as interesting at all as that as that movie. There's a bunch of jump scares for no reason, a bunch of red herrings with people acting really weird for really no reason other than to suspect them. The son is the villain out of nowhere. There's no real reason for it. There's no real lead in for it. It just kind of feels like it just randomly happens. Like they just needed to pick somebody. Like, hey, yeah, I guess you did it. Come on in. And he's chewing up the scenery. It's awful. There's this scene where they run away from each other. It's like she runs away from him. This big scene, gets stabbed in the cheek and everything. It's it's ridiculous, but whatever. There's a car crash earlier on when you find out that the husband and the daughter are actually dead and they're not separated. And the car crash is ridiculous. I mean, she drops the phone behind her, and she's driving at night in the snow, but then she turns around to reach for it and isn't looking at the road. She, you know, drives off the road. It's like, well, obviously, keep your eyes on the road. You could ask, the daughter or the husband to reach for it if you really, really need it. I think she was texting the other dude at the time too. It's like, this is not the time, right? Anyway, like, 'cause she was cheating, I think, on Anthony Mackie's character. It's it's bad. When I saw it, I was like, wow, this ending is such a nosedive. This is awful, and it wasn't even that great to begin with. But it has good cinematography at least and good performances, Gary Oldman and stuff like that. But yeah, it's bad. Number four is Chaos Walking. It's Tom Holland and Daisy Ridley running around the woods with no chemistry at all. The whole thing with you being able to hear the thoughts and see them, these little fart clouds or whatever, it's annoying, but it's also inconsistent. It's annoying in that you hear everything until you don't hear everything. But oh, she's pretty, she's pretty, she's pretty, blonde hair, blonde hair, blonde hair, blonde wig is basically. But you know, it's inconsistent in that there's a big reveal that they killed all the women and killed Tom Holland's mom. Spoilers, obviously, and somehow they never let it slip. Not even Nick Jonas, who is horrible in the movie. It's so bad. Mads Mikkelsen, I guess it's okay, but like everything going on with him, with his little fur coat or whatever, it's such a lame movie, and you spend the whole time trying to get to this place to get Daisy Ridley off the planet, but then at the end she's just like, you know what, I'm just gonna stay. It's like, what? Whatever. Okay. It just kind of feels like it didn't need to exist. I know it's based on a book, but whatever. It feels like it doesn't need to exist. And seeing them play off each other with zero chemistry, man. Apparently there was a cut of the movie and another cut where it was unreleasable. I would love to see what that looks like. 'Cause, man, it was bad. I mean, it really is just them running through the woods with like annoying, voiceover like thoughts, and that's it. And like I said, it completely breaks it. The final confrontation with Mads Mikkelsen is nothing. I mean, it's just really bad, and it felt really pointless to me, especially with that ending. So, number three, Home Sweet Home Alone. It tries to not be Home Alone while also being Home Alone. It still has a lot of the same beats and things, but the criminals that are going to try to break into the house, they're actually the protagonists of the movie. They actually just want to get their doll back that the kid. It turns out the kid didn't take it, but they thought the kid took it, and it's some real contrived bullshit where it's like, oh, they're gonna yell out their password right in front of him, so he knows the password to the house, but then he's gonna forget the password, so it goes off, and they have to distract the cop, which turns out to be what's his name, Buzz, the brother from the original movie, the original two movie. The kid in the movie is annoying, and the whole thing with him being left alone, they have to really jump through hoops for that, even more so than the original movie, where like they're on separate flights for no reason, and it's so bad. I mean, the kid barely even enjoys being at home. He can't go on the internet. He can't do anything. He's just doing like almost like normal shit, and anyway, like the leads, the couple, right? They're okay. Like the actors are good, but yeah, everything else not so much. And there's some things that were kind of funny in certain areas, but by the time they get there and there's the traps, you feel bad for them. It's almost horrifying. It's almost like the kid is the villain, which I guess maybe he is. It turns out to all be like sitcom level misunderstandings where they just kind of don't hear each other, where they say, "Oh, we need to get the ugly boy," instead of saying the doll, and so the kid overhears that. It's bad coincidences and stuff. The traps are so the traps are so bad to the point where one of them is just him putting a VR headset on the husband, and he still somehow has this Santa Claus outfit on in the VR and all that. He thinks he's on the Rocky Mountains or something. He jumps into something and hits himself, slapstick, but it, you don't feel the VR headset on your face or on your head. It's so it's so stupid. The movie is so bad. I'm thinking about it, right? It was really annoying me that they had to jump through so many hoops to make the movie make sense. And then by the end, they're just, together because they find the doll. Because I guess the nephew stole the doll like almost as soon as they got there. The dialogue is so bad. It's another one of those where it's like, hey, why do they keep making sequels or remaking things? When it's gonna suck. What about it's never as good as the original? It's like that doesn't free you from the bullshit that you're putting out there. Like, it doesn't free you from being called out. Like, come on. So number two, this is where it really gets to the ones that really pissed me off. Number two is Cinderella 2021. It was making me cringe to the point where I wanted to die. Like it's one of those movies where it tries so hard to be cool and topical. Yes, future queen, yes. Or looking over at the stepsister, yeah, she cray. I was like, oh my god, this old people speak for poppin'. I was like, what the? I don't even think poppin'. Like nobody says poppin' anymore. Anyway, it was just so annoying. It's kind of like trying to do like the girl boss thing, but badly. There's no subtlety. It's blasphemy for a woman to start a business, but women can be suitors for the prince, basically because they want to just ape storylines from Aladdin. It's like everything they could throw into the movie, they throw in there. There's Hamilton-esque like announcements with rap announcements. There's a random black gospel choir just in scenes for no reason. It's so bad. It really is that bad. Like they want to do the girl boss thing, but they still want to do Cinderella. So at the end, it's like, oh well, they're together, but like we're not putting a label on it. She still wants to be an independent woman. It's like what the fuck. I mean, they stop her in the middle of the street to be like, a woman starting a business? She's looking, it's like something in Sun or something Brothers on the signs. And she's like, oh, wow, can't go there. Oh, no. Like, most of the songs are bad. They butcher the fuck out of Queen and out of all these other songs. Most of them don't even really fit in the situation they're in. Somebody to Love is sung by the prince who doesn't want to find somebody to love. Is like, he's just forcing himself or he's being forced to. It's so annoying. James Corden is in there telling jokes, clapping his hands, doing all kinds of funny little shtick with the other mice. The mice before they get turned into humans look awful. I mean, worse than Stuart Little even. I mean, it is embarrassing. I don't know how CG can be this bad still in 2021, but somehow it is. Obviously, it is still hitting kind of some of the beats of Cinderella, but I don't know. They want to put a modern spin on it, and it's just fucking terrible, man. I don't know how you could watch or even hear any bit of Pierce Brosnan in Mamma Mia and decide that you want him to sing. What was the Numbskull? Oh. I was like, man, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Oh, it was so annoying, and the movie wouldn't end. They just got to the ball, and it's like almost an hour left. It was like 58 minutes left, and I was like, fuck. And then the songs would stop in certain moments to just keep them going. Rhythm Nation at the beginning for no reason. That was really lame. It just Seven Nation Army for no reason during the ball. I was like, just because certain lines just happened to fit up with what was happening, but like the song didn't fit at all. I was like, man, it was so annoying. And then Billy Porter comes in and tries to be like kind of cool or hip or whatever with the was it Fabulous Godmother instead of Fairy Godmother? They are trying so fucking hard and it hurts. It really does. It was feeling like torture. Like I'd rather be waterboarded than watch that shit again, man. It really was torturous. I was like, man, if I want this to be over so fucking bad. Oh god. It's like I'm thinking about it right now and I'm like having like Vietnam War flashbacks. Oh, it was so fucking annoying. James Corden was so annoying. Oh, anyway, jeez, the dancing, the singing, it was all wrong and all awkward. None of the jokes worked at all. It's like man, I did not expect to hate that movie as much as I did, but I really did. It can only be topped by one movie. My number one pick is Space Jam 2. Was it A New Legacy? Whatever, whatever. It's an advertisement. That's all it is. It's an advertisement. They're just kind of like shoving all their different properties in your face. The Looney Tunes don't really do all that much. Like they don't even fit with some of the places they're at. Like Roadrunner did, but like what's it called? What's his name? Yosemite Sam. He was in Casablanca for no reason. And what's it called? The racist. What was the racist rooster's name? Was it any rooster? Foghorn Leghorn. He's riding the Game of Thrones dragon dressed up like Daenerys. It's like there's no need for this, right? They don't do shit in the movie. It's nothing but an advertisement. An advertisement. There's a Nike check. You know, they're constantly calling LeBron James king because we gotta suck him off the whole fucking movie long because this is a fucking vanity project for him. Right? They did that in Space Jam 1, but it was a joke. Here it's not a joke, right? Oh my god, King James. Calling the son character Prince. That's another thing. Him and that son, and they're like the main characters. They cannot act at all. Don Cheadle's acting circles around that kid, but that's child acting. But LeBron James is awful, man. I heard that he was in something else, but nah, he doesn't need to act at all. And then they make a joke about it, like, oh, athletes acting, it don't work out. It's like, okay, well then why'd you say yes to this bullshit? But anyway, the jokes are pretty lame. There's the little thing once again trying to be cool where like I said, dad, was it dad dab or whatever? He's dabbing trash. It's all in a video game, and in the serververse, Algae Rhythm can do just about anything. It really is just fucking around until the final game where they can bring real people in, but yet they're like, yay! And then they bring in the other properties to watch the game, and it's a bunch of people in bad cosplay. It really is embarrassing. It's so bad. Like they have a really shitty rap. It's like, how does that? None of the game makes any sense. Like, how is there a rap? One side does a rap, the other side doesn't do a rap. The rap is awful.
Nobody knows you when you walk the street. How your last name rhythm and you're still off beat. From beginning to the end, I'm here for all the smoke. Your squad ain't all star, your squad is all jokes.
It's just, he can cheat, but then he doesn't do that the whole time for some reason. Looney Tunes is this thing where, oh, don't be loony. Okay, now you can be loony now. So they just start doing a bunch of crazy shit, and Granny's doing bullet time because we had to bring the Matrix back because we have that pretty bad Matrix sequel that came out not too long ago. I reviewed that. It just wasn't bad enough to get on this list. It's just there's a character that can stop time, but then doesn't do that for the entire game. None of it. It's soulless. It's so soulless, and it's like blatant. It's blatant that they're just doing it as like advertisement for all the for HBO Max and all that stuff. It's blatant. It is crazy how they're able to get away with this. I mean, it's like we should all be calling them out on this, but apparently some people liked it. I don't know, they had fun. But usually the defense is, well, Space Jam wasn't good either. It's like, yeah, it wasn't good, but it had more heart than this. It had a better soundtrack than this. This is just nothing but like, let's just shove all this bullshit in front of you. I mean, it worked in Ready Player One. Let's do it again. But 1,000 times more and worse. But yeah, it was annoying. It gave me a headache, I remember, and it's not good. It's been my number one worst of the year since it came out. But anyway, that's Space Jam 2, and that's actually the end of my worst of the year list. It's been a year. Only a few of those like really pissed me off, like the bottom three, like really truly got me, like Cinderella. Ugh. Yeah, speaking of which, yeah, I didn't even talk about it. Yeah, Cinderella also had that plot from Coming to America where it's like the daughter is the rightful king and she should be the one the king. Trying too hard, but whatever. So that's two movies I saw have that thing. I meant to talk about that, but I forgot. But yeah, that's it. Hopefully next year will be a little bit better. I don't know, for movies, whatever. Hopefully COVID at least somewhat dies down. I don't know. But this should be going up on probably New Year's Eve or something like that. So Happy New Year, and I guess that's it. I guess we're done. That's my worst movies of 2021.